The European Union subdivided the candidate countries into two groups according to those countries' preparedness to begin negotiations. The first group, known as the Luxembourg Group, consisted of 6 countries, 5 Central and East European states, Hungary, Poland, Estonia, the Czech Republic, Slovenia, and also Cyprus, a Mediterranean candidate, was added into this group. The group was called the Luxembourg Group because the decision to begin negotiations with these countries was taken in Luxembourg. The negotiations began in March 1998. The second group, also 6 countries, was called the Helsinki Group because the decision was taken in Helsinki. It consisted of Romania, Slovakia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Bulgaria from Central and Eastern Europe, and Malta, another Mediterranean candidate. The accession talks with this group began in February 2000. The negotiations took until December 2002. That is when at the summit meeting in Copenhagen, the leaders of the EU countries and the leaders of the candidate countries met and finalized the accession talks. But that was not the end of the accession process. Before I come to discuss the accession process, let me cast some light upon the reasons why the negotiations took so long. They were a very complex and complicated process. This slide shows the areas of negotiation. That is, 31 chapters of the Acquis communautaire pertaining to various aspects of economic and societal and political life. And the dates, the negotiations were conducted with one of the many countries, that is with Poland. This gives us some idea of what had to be done. You had to have people on both sides of the negotiating table who would deal with every and each of those aspects individually, would first submit the candidate's country proposal, and then the member states of the EU would write their offer, and then the screening process would go, whether a given country has already adopted the rules in a given area, and then if there are certain rules which were not adopted, the negotiation was taking place on when a candidate country would adopt the rules in this area. And once a decision was reached, the negotiations were closed in a given chapter. The accession process did not consist only of negotiations. It also consisted of the signature of the accession treaty, which happened in April 2003. That was a document made for all the 15 European Union states and all 10 countries which were meant to accede in the first round of accession. That is the 8 Central and East European countries and the 2 Mediterranean countries. Then the accession treaty had to be ratified according to each of the countries concerned domestic procedures. In the candidate countries, in nearly all of them, except for Cyprus, referendums were conducted whether accession documents should be ratified. Then the treaties were ratified by the candidate countries, by the member countries, and also an assent was given by the European Parliament. And eventually, accession took place on the 1st of May 2004. 2 of the Central and East European countries were conducting their accession talks for a certain time, and eventually acceded into the European Union in 2007. Let me now pass to the conclusions of my talk. In the conclusions, I would like to state that since the demise of communism in what was then Eastern Europe in 1989, we have witnessed a transition from what was then Eastern Europe through New Eastern Europe, then through Central and East European countries, eventually to the new member states of the European Union. Let me summarize this using a set of maps. Before the communist system had ended in Eastern Europe, the European Union was not even there. It was the European Community consisting of 12 states. The first major change was the inclusion of what had been the German Democratic Republic into the Federal Republic of Germany, and thus an enlargement of the European Community in 1990. That was the period when the first of the former Soviet bloc countries, Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, started asking whether it would be possible to establish closer links with the West, which included the European Community. Then we had a further political development and territorial development in the former communist bloc, the emergence of the post-Soviet states, the split up of Czechoslovakia, the division of Yugoslavia, and in 1993 we had the European Union emerge with its 12 member states, and the European Union soon became the EU of 15 states. Here we had 10 candidates from Central and Eastern Europe, and also 2 candidates from the Mediterranean. Going from the top of the map, we had Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, and in the Mediterranean, Malta and Cyprus. Ten out of these 12 states became members in 2004, thus the EU enlarged to 25 countries. 2 other Central and East European countries were still negotiating, that was Romania and Bulgaria, and in 2007 they became EU member states, making the EU a union of 27 countries. In the meantime, Croatia began its negotiations with the European Union and ended them successfully to become a member in 2013. And this is the European Union of today, the EU of 28 states, and the new candidate countries. This is not the end of the European Union's enlargement, its eastern enlargement. Some countries of former Yugoslavia still wait to become EU member states, and so does Albania. Whether an enlargement to include Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, Macedonia, and Albania would happen remains to be seen. Thank you for your attention.